Tim Fasiola here from Movements for Life. We're going to continue with our golf sequence here today, and we're going to be actually addressing the left hip, or the lead hip, as we go into the backswing. So we're skipping over the left foot, or for a righty golfer, the left foot, the lead foot. Reason being is because it's going to be going into what's called pronation, which is the same as what we're trying to maintain in the back foot in the backswing. So think about if you're feeling like you're not getting the loading mechanics you need, you can address that first video we did addressing the back foot in the backswing. And you can do that same thing. So now we're going to travel up to the lead hip as we go into the backswing. So unlike the back hip in the backswing, the lead hip is going to be going into what we would call abduction, and it's also going to be externally rotated versus internally rotated of the right hip or the back hip. So as we're trying to load into this abduction and external rotation, we want to add the hands in, because that's really, once again, what's going to be the driver. So we're going to do a combination of a lunge and a reach, and just try and facilitate motion through that hip. We can do so with mobility and stability. So first things first, we're going to start out with just that lateral lunge. And as I'm reaching away, this is very similar to what we did for the thoracic spine, which is really the beauty of this. We can address a lot of the same things at once. However, we do want to isolate out. So first, I can kind of prep the tissue with that same thing we were doing for the thoracic spine, loading into the left medial hip. But then what I can begin to do is just tap. And this is going to be more like what ends up happening at the hip, because we're not going to get this big straightening and all this length through the adductors. Instead, it's going to come more from this top-down rotation. So now, as I'm here, my foot's going out, and I'm trying to stay on top of it. This is really going to load through the inner thigh of my plant leg and address some of these tissues. So first, you can just prep it with the step. Same pathway, but now because I'm not allowing for that translation, I have to rotate more through my pelvis, which is more authentic to what's going to happen both positionally, locally, and globally in the golf swing. So now, we're going to go even more transverse plane. So I can do the same thing, and this is very similar to what we did when addressing the thoracic spine in the backswing. And now, just like we did a moment ago, I can now tap into that. Less translation, more rotation. And I'm really just trying to get this hip, allowing myself to load deep into the backswing here. If your lead hip is kind of bogged down, you have what's called the pelvic ring. So if my left groin or left medial hip is tight, it might not allow me to load my right lateral hip. So if you can imagine, they're both on the same side of that figure eight. So if this is stuck, I'm not going to be able to get here, and vice versa. So we want to address that individually to make sure that it's not holding back the whole movement pattern. So try these two out, really get into that hip, and make sure you're feeling through those tissues. Try it out, let us know how you feel.